In this video, I'm going to talk about the use of Datastudio with the GLX and a motion sensor. Right now I have the motion sensor plugged into the GLX. As you can see here, it says position, so it went to track position, but there's no graph. So I can simply drag the position over to the graph display, so I can see a graph of the position versus time. I'll click start to start collecting some data. I'm simply going to move my hand in front of the sensor back and forth so you can see that it's collecting data. And I'll stop it. A nice little feature of Datastudio is this first button called Scale to Fit. If I click it, it scales the window so I can see more of the data as opposed to just the empty graph. And as you can see here, I have many data points as I move my hand back and forth. If I want to see what the actual data points are, I can click on this button right here, the XY Smart Tool, and I can lock it in on the data, and I can see the time and the position. So there's 1.8 seconds, which is right there, 1.9, 2. So it looks like it's capturing data every tenth of a second approximately as I move around here. So let's try another one. I'll click start again, and I'll go a little faster. And you can see the data as well, called run 2 in green. So when you do multiple trials with an experiment, which you're probably going to do, you're going to have multiple runs, run number 1, run number 2, and so forth. And this may get a little confusing after a while to see all this data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove one of the runs so we can just see one run very clearly. So I'll click on run number 1 and press delete, and I'm going to remove it from the display. Notice it's still here on the left hand side, so I can always drag it back to take a look at it, but for clarity I can remove it from the actual screen. If I remove this here by pressing delete, that'll remove the data from the experiment entirely and I won't be able to get it back. So if you want to remove a run, make sure that's something you definitely don't want. So I'll click it here to get rid of that one. And there's my data. This looks like a good set of data, except there's one data point down here and that doesn't look like, it looks like it's off. Everything pretty much lies in this area. You can actually highlight that one data point and say that was a bad data point for whatever reason. And if I press delete, Datastudio wants to make an editable copy of this data. Basically, it's going to make a copy of it without that one data point. It's called the edited one. See, it's in blue. So this is the edited data. Again, I can always get back the green one if I want to take a look at the original data there. I have some data here, but it looks a little choppy. There's some kind of slanted lines here. So what I can do is, and you might want to do this, is increase the sampling rate. It was sampling at 10 hertz or 10 samples per second. I'm going to go 40 times. A little bit quicker so I can get more data, maybe even out some of these sharp lines here. So I'll click start again. And if I click on run 3 and bring it over, I'll bring it down here, run 3. I can see there's run 3 there. And then I will try one more as well. I'll go up to, let's say 100. Can I go to 100? Let's go to 100 hertz. Close that. And I have lots of data. So there's different options for collecting data. Again, there's some outliers there which I can get rid of. I'm making an editable copy. But let me go back to my first set of data. So let me get rid of these from the display and show you some other features. Get rid of run 3, get rid of run 2, and that'll bring the original green one over back to the thing now. Alright. Right now we're looking at position, but behind the scenes Datastudio is also collecting velocity and acceleration data. So if I click these check marks, I can get those as well. So if I close that up, you'll see now I have on the screen here velocity and acceleration for runs 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to take the, let's see, run number 2 is my green one, so I'll take the run number 2 velocity and I'll drag it right below it down here. And I'll drag the acceleration right below that as well. That was a mistake, I didn't want to do that. Change this back to time. And it looked like it dragged on the same graph. Let me remove that. And velocity is, that's supposed to be there. I think I drag it right below it. There we go. And so now you can see I have position, velocity, and acceleration for run number 2, run number 2, run number 2, and so forth. Um, a nice little feature you can use with Datastudio is to move the axes around. So if I want to look at different parts of the data, I can move the axes around. Okay, and I can also scale it. If I move my cursor right on a number, you'll see it turn into a double pointing arrow right here. I can actually change the scaling. Now notice how all three are moving in unison together. That's because this lock button is there. If I unclick the lock button, you'll notice that there are 3 different time axes that weren't there before. So I click lock, they disappear. If I unclock, then they are there. If I don't lock them, I can actually change them independently, which may not be a good thing because I want to see how they all interact together. So lock is a good thing. So I can change the scale automatically. Another feature is the Smart tool, which lets me take the cursor to a specific point. So I can take a look at an exact data point on a graph. Slope tool, I can take a look at the slope of a graph here, and we'll talk about what slopes means on graphs. And another thing is the area tool, which is right next to the sigma, the Greek letter sigma. Click area, and I can find areas under curves. And if you look at the display here, it tells me what the area is. And in different experiments, this area means different things. So in a nutshell, we can take a look at areas, we can take a look at slopes, look at actual data points, take a look at multiple graphs together, and scale them. So that's a brief introduction to the use of Datastudio and the GLX with the motion sensor.